in other countries around the world, in China, for example, public.
He is a threat to people with disabilities. Look at his ruling against people with disabilities and intellectual disabilities. He does not believe that people with disabilities are rights. He is a threat to people with disabilities.
So if you look at other countries around the world, and you're not free to take your religion into the public square. Crosses are being knocked off churches, for example, or you can only practice in your own home. You can't bring your religious belief into the public square.
Without the information about Judge Kavanaugh, you can't tell. Many people don't know that he lied in the first judge.
Being able to participate in the public square is a part of the American tradition. I think as a religious person, religious speech, religious ideas, religious thoughts, that's important. So too on the Establishment Clause, some of those cases are, as you know, particularly complicated in the Supreme Court precedent, but the Supreme Court precedent, for example, in the Town of Greece case and others has recognized that some religious traditions in governmental practices are rooted sufficiently in history and tradition to be upheld. And so in that case, the Town of Greece case, the Supreme Court upheld the practice of a prayer before a local legislative meeting, as Marsh v. Chambers, of course, also a local town meeting, I should say. Marsh v. Chambers had upheld it in a legislative meeting as well. So the religious tradition reflected in the First Amendment is a foundational part of American liberty, and it's important for us as judges to recognize that and recognize too that, as with speech, unpopular religions are protected. Our job, we can under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act question the sincerity of a religious belief, meaning is someone lying or not about it, but we can't question the reasonableness of it. And so the Supreme Court has cases with all sorts of religious beliefs protected. Justice Brennan, really the architect of that. So religious liberty is critical to the First Amendment and the American Constitution.
Eddie. Some of the Democratic senators on this committee have suggested that you would somehow side with rich and powerful entities at the expense of the little guy, but at least in that instance, representing the synagogue against the power of government that was trying to prevent it being built is very much an instance that you chose to give your time and your energy and your labor for free to a litigant that I think most would view as the little guy in that battle.
That's correct, Senator, and I've tried as a judge always to rule for the party who has the best argument on the merits, and that's included workers in some cases, businesses in others, coal miners in some cases, environmentalists in others, unions in some cases, the employer in others, criminal defendants in some cases, the prosecution in others. And I have a long line of cases in each of those categories. And